Warning. This show contains naughty language, adult themes, and may contain mentions of horror and Scientology. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. The church is not affiliated with, endorses, or affects this show in any way.
We're going to lace your drink so that you're slightly unconscious, and then I'm going to cut you up because I want to see what human flesh tastes like.
I would eat myself. Hell yeah.
I'm the guy they're after, 100%.
Even psychopaths have emotions if you dig deep enough. But then again, maybe they don't.
And that's where I cut her open.
His head hurt. I didn't kill him every day, did I?
Oh, I'm not a healthy man.
1 second till midnight.
I tried to create living zombies.
It was like something had, they snapped.
Well, normal people just don't do this.
I am your host, Trevor W. Heasley.
And I'm your host, Lizzie O'Neil.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
Welcome to this edition of 1 Second to Midnight podcast.
It's the show where we talk about
spooky things
like ghosts,
conspiracy theories,
cryptids,
paranormal activity,
cults,
true crime,
self-help groups,
kinks and fetishes,
ruins,
serial killers,
love advice,
portals to hell and beyond,
and things that may grab your ankle in the dead of night.
Opinions expressed in this show are that of the hosts and the hosts alone.
And in case we get something wrong,
you are encouraged to do research
and form your own opinion.
All we ask is that instead of being a dick in the comments,
you update us with any corrections or new findings.
And you become a part of a positive conversation
that benefits everyone.
I am your host, Trevor W. Heasley.
And I am your host, Lizzie O'Neil.
If we're going to do a horror podcast, I think one of the things that we really got to do is figure out exactly what horror is to us. Now, I was able to purge a listener from a different podcast that I'm a fan of. Now, the gentleman we're about to talk to, Andy, is also a fan of this podcast. Tell him Steve Dave. We're going to be talking to him about what horror is. Andy, are you there?
Absolutely. How are you doing, party people?
We're doing good, dude.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Oh my gosh, there's a dog. I'm outside. I'm so sorry. I'm already being...
You have a dog, dude? What's your dog's name?
This is not my dog. That is my neighbor's dog. I was on a walk. Then the call came. And I got back home as soon as possible. Sorry for the background noise. I'm unprofessional. From the start, this is a solid start. Right?
Can you imagine if, like, the dog just attacked and ate him right now? Dude, this recording would go viral. Do me a favor and mock the dog.
I don't think my neighbors would appreciate that much. What are you doing to my dog? Just, he's a guest star, too. He's with me. Don't worry, it's my dog now. It's my dog. And we're going on tour. Fido. His name is Fido now. I don't care.
All right, Liz. So for you, we are doing a horror podcast. What kind of experience with horror do you have?
I differ from you a little bit. I actually don't enjoy horror movies. I mean, I watch them. I can appreciate the shock value. I have to look away a lot. I'm one of those viewers. I don't scream. Well, sometimes I do. I yelp. The shock factor doesn't do... A lot of people love the shock, the feeling that uncomfortable. I do not enjoy that part of it. But what's odd about it for me, horror is, and I won't lie, I did look up because I knew you were going to ask this question. You know for a fact that I fall asleep to Snapped or shows that are considered quote unquote murder porn.
I've never heard of Snapped.
All right. So it's basically a show. It's based on true horror, people that murder people for reasons that most of us can't understand. And for me, that is scary. That is but I'm interested in finding out what's behind it. What I don't think you often get in horror movies, they might do in the end, this was the reason why he did all these horrible things or she did all these horrible things. what I love about the like more documentary type things is they go into possibly what drove them to act in the way they do. So that scares me. That's what I'm interested in, like why. But I think for you, and I don't want to speak for you. You love the movies where it's like the pop out of the like background, or the, oh my God, they were behind the door. And oh my God, you thought they were behind the door, but really they were behind you. That kind of thing. That's like, for me, yeah, it scares me. I'll jump. We just saw Scream 6 together. Did I not like totally have to look away a few times and yelp a few times? Yeah. Someone gets stabbed in the mouth, I'm going to freak out. Anyway, my answer's too long, but like that.
When that guy got stabbed in the mouth, though, in Scream 6, dude, that was kind of neat. It really was. So, Andy, when I say what is horror, to you personally, what is horror?
Sorry, okay. Kind of expanding what Liz was talking about, just the psychology, I guess, of it is, it's pretty interesting too, but I mean, like, things like JVC, just hearing you say that you fall asleep to that. I was talking to my boss once. I was like, man, I'm having strange nightmares lately, and I have no idea why. I keep falling asleep to, like, true crime interviews and stuff with people who murdered their entire families, and it's pretty soothing. So, that's weird. But horror to me is like, what's unknown. Nobody knows what's lurking around that corner. I guess the suspense, the thrill of it. Not so much the blood and gore, because that could be phoned in any time. Anybody can do any amount of blood and gore and just have it be labeled horror. But it's like, to keep you on the edge of your seat and not knowing what's coming up next, or even knowing what's really going on. It's sort of horror to me.
Right. And
why is this happening?
And so, Trevor, I don't mean to jump in here, but, there's a new movie coming out, and I'm not even sure I want to see it or what it's going to be, but I was reading an interview that they just did on their, like, red carpet premiere. It's the Boston Strangler, right? Again, like, to your point, what was so scary about him and the serial killer that was the Boston Strangler was people didn't know who it was, and people were walking around the street looking around being like, anyone could be this guy, and
same can be said about like David Berkowitz or the Zodiac killer, or even Charles Manson for a little while. They had those towns locked down because people didn't know who they were.
Coming from the Pacific Northwest, not to brag, but like, our serial killers, you look at the Green River Killer, Ted Bundy, the most average, if not more than average looking people. I mean, Ted Bundy was heralded as a very pretty man that could lure any woman to his car. Any woman. And he'd play upon your sympathies too, like, oh my God, my leg is broken, my arm is broken. Will you please help me carry my books to my car? And next thing you know, you're being stabbed. And nobody wants that.
Most people, if you see somebody with an injury and they ask for help, unless you're a total dickhead, you're gonna help them.
You were right. I think maybe that used to be the thing. But I know I was always taught, if you see someone injured and maybe like I'm a dickhead, they're like, stay with them, safe distance, call the cops. Like, because if you're alone in the middle of nowhere with some dude, like, no, you don't get in his car to help him because he needs help with his books or whatever. Like, it's...
My first lesson in that, I think, was Silence of the Lambs. When the killer was like, I need some help to get in my van. And she helped him, and she was like just kidnapped. That was the first time I went, you know what? Maybe stranger danger is real.
Unfortunately...
Oh, it is.
Yeah, unfortunately it is.
For me, horror isn't really Jason. It's not really Freddy. Even though there's an absolute place for them, that to me is more comedy horror. Those films are absolutely funny to me. I mean, like a guy, Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason runs around with a burlap potato sack on his head. That's funny. Now, the horror that I really like are movies like The Stand or books like The Stand. Things that could actually potentially happen. A zombie psycho killer is not going to happen, but a virus could happen. Shawshank Redemption. That's a horror movie to me because that's something that could really happen. You could be in prison for the rest of your life for a crime you didn't commit. The movie Stand By Me. That's a horror movie. 4 kids going to see a dead body. That's a horrific situation. It doesn't have to be blood and guts, but movies with over-the-top blood and guts, like The Thing, anything by Trauma, they're amazing because it's a moment to really just say, sometimes I hate people and I want to see somebody's head get blown off. I don't want to do it in real life, but I'm going to escape for 2 hours.
All right, so I know then the next part that you wanted to do, like the 5 different types, like examine 5 different types of horror. But I will say this, and I just want to add it because I don't know if it'll ever come up in the podcast again. You made me watch the original version of The Blob.
Oh, yeah, Steve McQueen.
All right, so at first I was like, I can't believe I'm watching another stupid movie Trevor's making me watch. But I will say this. I get why that was scary. Like, I it's true. I don't go to a drive-in. Unfortunately, we've never been to a drive-in. But can you imagine how scary? It reminded me of, like, did you guys ever have, like, those campfire stories about, like, the guy with the hook that, like, would jump on the car? Like,
yes, and it was like scrape.
The house.
Yes, like that, those stories, like I know probably not going to happen, but then every so often you hear a really crazy story like that did. And you're like, that to me, that is horror. It makes your normal reality, it disturbs your normal reality and it makes your imagination run wild.
If you look at like Richard Ramirez, one of the things he would do is he would break into the house. He would hide. He would wait for you to come home. You would watch TV, cook some dinner, and then you'd go to bed. And that's when he would attack. That's what Jason or Freddy has never done. That's so fucking twisted and scary.
Yeah.
Wait all day. So, yeah. And that's unknown. You did not know someone was in your house. That's fear of the unknown.
Andy, what is one of the most horrific things you have ever, like, seen in a movie or read in a book?
Man, that is an interesting question.
YouTube counts.
Base level, Human Centipede kind of was that shock factor where you dared your friend to see it, right? Like, that was just over the top.
Human Centipede was, well, I think its charm was, it was technically medically accurate, and that is what their claim was. It reminds me of a lot of like the experiments that Mengele would, Mengele, the Nazi, the guy who would tie twins together just to see what happened. So I'm kind of wondering like if that movie was kind of like inspired by Mengele.
So okay, I could not. Trevor tried to get me to. Actually, Trevor made the mistake. So again, I don't go out of my way to watch horror movies. In fact,
you should.
Well, I only now watch a lot of them because of Trevor. Again, I love, like we talked about a little bit earlier, I love watching Snapped. I love watching the true stories. I guess my problem is, and maybe it's because my imagination just runs wild, like Trevor had me watch the South Park parody of Human Centipede to try to ease me into it. And so I was like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Like, what are they even doing? And Trevor had to explain. He was like, it's based on this movie. And I was like, oh, I heard about that. But like, what exactly is it about? He was like, oh my God. Like, so he didn't even tell me. And he just was like, this is like a documentary movie, Lizzie, or it's based on a true story. And I was like, really? And so we got to the beginning and I was like, this is like really weird and really bad. I thought it was going to be a movie about a guy date raping 2 girls, like, right? And in a way, He did, but like not really.
If you liked that documentary, there's another one called Hostel that I want to show you.
No, but here's the thing. I couldn't even get through it because I was like, Trevor, I don't want to see another movie. So he turned it off because he's like, I really don't think you're going to be able to handle this. And he's correct. I still haven't seen the movie. And I'm really glad I haven't, because even after the South Park one, I was like, oh my God, like, Jesus. I don't know. There's something about it to me. But I think the reason that I get more freaked out than, I don't know, do you get scared when you watch horror movies? Or do you, Andy, do you get scared when you watch horror movies? Or like, is it more kind of just amusing to you?
Oh, it's definitely not amusing. I mean, I've seen enough shit in my life to where it's just like, it's more anxiety. I'm not much of the horror fan myself. I mean, to put it like this, before I was on here, I was asked what my favorite horror movie was, and I was like, really none of them, except for a movie called Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and that's the closest I'm going to get to horror in my favorite movie genre.
What is that one about? Sorry, I don't know it.
That one it's an amazing comedy. If you've ever seen Tyler Labine, he was in like Reaper and a couple of other shows. Why it's escaping my mind at the moment, but it's about these two guys who are kind of redneck, kind of dirty, kind of hillbilly type. They get a vacation home and they have to fix it up. And on their way to this vacation home, they run into a couple of college seniors, and they're the preppy, fucking typical type of, we come from rich parents. And so Tyler Labine character, who's wearing overalls, comes up to one of the girls with a scythe, and he says, "Oh, you guys go, Kevin," and he comes across as awkward. But basically, what happens is through a series of misunderstandings, one of the girls goes skinny dipping. She hits her head on a rock. The redneck guys save her. And as soon as the college friends see that they have saved her, they go, "Hey, college kids, we have your friend." So they think that these redneck dudes have abducted their friend and they need to go save her. Meanwhile, they're just trying to get her back to health. The horror comes in the sense that they keep hunting down these rednecks and accidentally killing themselves on their lawns the whole way through.
One thing that I've noticed as far as our conversation tonight is when I threw the question out there, what is horror? We have discussed movies. And both of us, all three of us, we discuss movies. But I think there's a little bit more to horror than just movies. What about like cults? We got Jim Jones. We got Marshall Applewhite. The Heaven's Gate. Jim Jones was responsible for like 700 deaths. Heaven's Gate. To me, that's also a form of horror. And those are some of the other topics that I would like to get on like a future episode.
Absolutely, and that's the horror that's really out there and really unknown.
See. To me, like watching like Scientology, Going Clear, that movie to me is a horror movie. Like the movie The Master with Joaquin Phoenix and, oh my God, what's his name? He played Capote. What's his name? Anyway, he's fucking amazing in the movie. The movie's called The Master. That is a horror movie because it's kind of the formation of a damaging cult. Horror could also be like demon possession, or if you believe that demons are real, ghosts. It shouldn't just be limited to movies.
Well, agreed. But I think that's a different kind of thing because movies are entertainment, right? But when I talk about horror, what I actually freak out about, when I get scared when the lights go out and it's just like me alone in the apartment or me walking down the street alone. What's horror to me is that there are real things that are incredibly scary that happen. My God.
Are there?
No, I mean, you can't read like the Daily Mail anymore without, someone being abducted by some psychopath, like kept in a shed for like 3 months, abused and tortured. Like that is horror. And what's horror? Okay.
Absolutely.
How about this? Let's start our discussion with cults and why I find them very scary. I think a lot of very smart people end up finding attraction to cults, and we can get in debates about whether all organized religion is a type of cult, blah blah.
Cult is basically a found family.
And Okay, but the thing is, yeah, you've got
but damaging.
You've got people that are looking for something that they're not finding in their everyday life, and they find a group of people that they think represent acceptance. They think they represent something that they're missing, right? Sure. The problem happens when they become so indoctrinated by the beliefs or the ideas of that group that their behavior that they exhibit becomes dangerous to the rest of society. And you can argue on what level you think that is, but in a lot of times, the ones that you're reading about a lot now are people that are taking advantage of young girls, taking advantage of young boys, taking advantage of, people's situations, their psychological state of mind, and causing them to not only harm themselves, they think that they're doing it out of like love and devotion to the cult, but they're, actually kind of being disserviced by a group of individuals. And I think that, and they're losing their own personal identity because it's all about what's the greater good of their group. I don't know. For me, I find that very scary.
There are good groups.
A great horror film that was based on real people, which events was made by Kevin Smith in Red State from the Westboro Baptist Church and Reverend Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
The God Hates Fags people.
Yeah.
They definitely brainwash those people, and who's to say what they've done and what they haven't done? Allegedly.
Right. And was it you? Is that the film? There's that one scene where the little kid is holding up one of the signs that's like God hates. I don't really like using this word, but the signs.
You don't have to. It's good.
Yeah.
The sign said God hates fags. Right. Now, you know what? I actually want to address something. We're not saying fag in a derogatory term. We're not using it as a pejorative. We're using it to describe something that maybe you felt was inappropriate. And I sometimes think by not saying words, we're doing injustice to awareness.
Okay, well, I'm just saying this. Yes, you're right. The sign, in my opinion, was very inappropriate. But because what was more inappropriate about it was that it was like a 9-year-old boy holding it up. And when they asked him, what does that mean? He had no idea. He couldn't explain what it meant. He just goes, because they're going to die, they're going to go to hell. And he had no idea what he was even saying.
Actually, Liz, you're thinking of an interview with Louis Theroux, which was done with Shirley Phelps, the daughter of Fred Phelps. He was invited to the church to talk to them. Fred Phelps was very rude to him, but I think one of the most powerful moments in that hour-long documentary is when he was on the picket line, and he did have a moment with the kids, and he said, "What does this sign mean?" And the kid was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Can you read the sign?" They're like, "I don't read yet." That was very disturbing. But the movie Red State, that didn't happen, but it was based on that church. Yes, it was loosely based on the Westboro Baptist, and the gentleman who starred in that, oh my God, I can't think of his name right now, but he also did From Dusk Till Dawn. I'm sorry, what?
Mike Park.
Michael Parks, yes, thank you. He's passed, but he is one of the best actors I have ever seen.
Oh, that opening monologue he gives, if that doesn't send chills down your spine, you're fucking insane. You're insane yourself.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't think I saw that movie.
You did see it. It was the one with John Goodman at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was loosely based. Another horror movie I would like to talk about, if we're going to go back to movies and Kevin Smith, is a whole different kind of genre, which is ridiculous horror. Look at the movie Tusk.
Okay.
The movie Tusk is about a guy being transformed into a walrus. It's a horror movie, but if you think about it, it's also a comedy, even though it wasn't that funny.
It was, yeah.
And that was just made because Kevin Smith and Scott Moser were doing a podcast, and they came across some Facebook or Craigslist article about a guy who was gonna rent out a room in the house absolutely free. You just had to dress up as a walrus for 8 hours a week. Turns out it was like a bogus one. Like there was a guy joking, but yeah, the podcast they did on that was absolutely amazing.
I don't think I'd be beyond that job though. If someone was like, "Hey man, I'll take it. Why not? You know, a job's a job. What do you do for 8 hours? I'm a walrus, motherfucker. What do you want? High five. Don't touch me."
You let me live in a mansion, dude. I will put on the walrus suit and clap for 8 hours. I'm fine.
Some friends? I got 2 other walrus.
You want to throw a fish at me? We're good.
Yeah, I mean,
a yellow submarine.
That one. Okay, so if you the definition of horror is that it disturbs your sense of normalcy, and yes, that one definitely did. And actually, I didn't find it as funny as you did. I actually I was like, holy shit, can you imagine you think you're going to do an interview with even a crazy person, which, sometimes you do end up interviewing people that are you think are a little off or whatever. You don't expect the next day to wake up with your limbs chopped off and it's the start of a process of you becoming a walrus.
I would like to think that somewhere out there's probably somebody who would kind of be into that.
Yeah, talk about horror. What about we're getting off topic, but talk about horror though. True story. There was actually an incident where a guy posted on Craigslist. He was like, "I'd like you to come over." He wanted to see what it was like to be a cannibal. So he posted on Craigslist, "I want you to come over to my apartment. I'll cook you dinner. We'll drink."
Wait, cook you for dinner? Or
no,
cook you dinner?
I'll cook you dinner.
Okay.
We'll have some drinks. I will.
There's a huge difference then.
No. He was up front in the ad, and he was like, we're going to lace your drink so that you're slightly unconscious, and then I'm going to cut you up because I want to see what human flesh tastes like. I want to kill a person and see what it tastes like. This guy knowingly went to the apartment because he was like, okay, that makes sense.
Now, Andy, let me ask you a question.
That actually went to trial, and they were trying to say, people were like, he should argue insanity. And I forget what they actually argued, but they were like, it was consensual cannibalism. What's the problem? That is horrific on so many levels. And that actually happened.
Let me ask you a question, Andy. Do you think the guy who answered the ad absolutely believed that he was going to be eaten? Or do you think he thought this is just some kind of weird rape fantasy?
I think he believed it. And then it kind of raises the question of what kind of person does believe that and wants to go through it anyway. Who wants to be eaten like that? Who wants to go out like that? That is another level of horror. What goes on in that person's mind?
There are some people who have some kind of fetish that involves cutting off limbs, cutting off either an arm or cutting off a leg. I guess if somebody also has a cannibalism fetish, if one of the people who want to cut a leg off meet with a cannibal and they're both into it, who are we to object?
Who are we to object?
Wait, I'm sorry. Time out. We are here to object to that. I'm sorry.
Liz,
if
I ever had an industrial accident and I lost my hand, I would ask to keep it just so I would know what human flesh tastes like. I would eat myself. Hell yeah.
Oh my God. That is the most disturbing. Don't ever tell.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it is disgusting, Trevor. And all right. So.
Oh, we're on different pages.
Oh, what did you think? That he wanted me to eat it? No.
Oh, no, dude. I'm not going to ask somebody else to eat me unless Liz, one day I'm like, eat me. And then if I'm missing a hand, then I mean it.
Oh my God. Sorry, Andy. What were you saying? Your reaction to this horrific scenario?
Oh, I was like, that's one of the hardest things I ever heard is that I'm just going to eat myself. All right.
Dude, I bet.
Oh, you meant like that. And then they pull out their hand?
Oh, God.
I bet I taste delicious.
Trevor, stop being disgusting and weird. All right, Andy, I swear to God,
I encourage that, Trevor.
Andy, he's
a little bit of salt, some pepper.
No.
Oh, you know what you would need? You would need Lowry's. You would need Lowry's seasoning.
Oh my God. So
here in the Pacific Northwest, it's Johnny's seasoning salt. Oh my God, you would taste delicious.
Oh my God.
Dude,
guys,
on
stop.
A taco.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, a Trevor taco would be amazing.
Oh my God, I'm going to vomit. We're stopping this immediately. What I'm saying though, but back to Andy's original point before Trevor took us down a road that we should never have gone down.
If you lose an arm, why not?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but what? No, my point, Andy, to your point, though, is it's true. Like, what is going through that guy's head? And that was the whole court case. Like, if he was consenting to this, like, is the guy really at fault? And it's like, well, yeah. Like, in my opinion, like, you killed a person to eat them. Like, it's not like they were like, those people, that horrific thing that happened, what was it, in the Andes with the plane crash and they had to, like, start eat. Yeah.
Alive.
But anyway, so, all right, so I forget how you for some reason thought the walrus was funny humor. Funny,
dude, it was amazingly comical.
No, funny horror, but like funny horror to me.
When he made him eat the fish, and then he like surgically put the tusks in, dude, that was so great. And then when they fought, oh my god, dude, I was laughing. Maybe it's because I had a rough childhood. Maybe I was abused as a kid. I don't know, but for some reason, I find horror movies absolutely funny.
No, some people like the thrill of horror. It's like some people love riding roller coasters. They love that incline part where you don't know what's going to happen next. You just see yourself way above where you should be. You know there's a drop coming. You love the anticipation. And then that minute that you drop, it's the adrenaline rush. It's the, that's why a lot of people like horror. I, for one, went on a roller coaster. I'm fine during the roller coaster part of it. It's that incline part, knowing I'm about to drop and the drop that like kills me.
For you, it's about the anticipation. It's about not knowing where the danger is. The danger's just lurking somewhere to be discovered. It's the moment before the boo. That's also a very important part in horror that I think a lot of movies today are absolutely missing. Horror movies today are all about CGI and like how weird can we make the monster. But if you look at the originals, like Halloween, for example, like Michael Myers hid behind a lot of corners, or you would see shots of Jamie Lee Curtis hiding. And for a lot of these times, you didn't know where the killer was. And I think for me, horror in that example is the unknown.
Absolutely unknown.
Another type of horror is mental horror, going insane, personal horror, having dementia. I like to joke and say that like I one day want to have Alzheimer's or dementia because I would love to see Star Wars for the first time 27 times in my life. If I had Alzheimer's, I can watch any TV show for the first time again. That's my joke. But the actual thought about losing connection with reality, that's another type of horror.
Watching my mom go through that towards the end, it was absolute horror on her face. Not to get dark or anything, but like the looks on her face were absolutely comparable to any horror movie you've ever seen in anybody in their last moments. And I mean,
no, you're not getting dark, but like, so would she have like flashes of recognition that she?
Oh, she would yell out relatives' names that we haven't seen for a while. She would call out dogs. She would say that there's people in the corner. There's definitely not people in the corner, but she would see them and just call out, and you could tell she was scared. She was absolutely scared that she didn't know where she was at in her own home.
Yeah,
that's horrific.
That is absolutely different style. It's it's horrific. And it's your own house, and you don't know where you're at. She would look at me and be like, "Who's that?" Your son of 36 years. Now that's gotta be fucking scary, bro.
Yeah.
From her perspective, like imagine waking up and your house is filled with people you don't fucking know. That's gotta be scary. And they're like, dude, we know you. And you gotta come to terms with like, do I know you? Like every day. That's a completely different. I think that's a more fucked up horror than like serial killers, or because this is your body is your cell. Like the movie.
Your new reality.
Yeah, like what happens when reality just changes? Your brain can do amazing things. It can also do really terrible things. You ever done any drugs? All right.
Absolutely.
All right. So you know how fucked up your brain can be under the right circumstances.
Absolutely. Actually, if we're really going to get into it, I used to be a terrible cocaine addict. And towards the end, I would notice that I get into a psychosis, that people are coming after me, that things are happening, that the cops are coming. Are the cops coming? No, they're not coming. That somebody is going to do a home invasion in my house because I have cocaine. And that's psychosis. is definitely another form of horror. Like, fucking brought on upon yourself. That's easily avoidable, but it is absolutely something drugs that kick in, or something that drugs kick in.
And it's not just drugs. Like, people who are like drunk, they start seeing things that aren't really happening, you know? And your mind is a powerful
reality.
Yeah, your mind is a powerful tool, but when it can be altered, and and it doesn't have to even be through substances. A lot of it, not a lot of it, but sometimes you hear about, you know, I don't want to say ADHD because like that I don't totally understand enough to talk about, but you read articles about people whose like hormonal or chemistry imbalances cause them to act in certain ways that once they're, you know, regulated or like getting back to a like stabilization, they're fine. It's just for whatever reason, the wrong signals are being sent to their brain. Did that make sense to anyone? No.
Well, no, so what we have discussed tonight is the topic of horror. Some of the things we said is horror could be either just straight up Freddy or Jason or Michael coming out of the shadows and stabbing you. Horror could be mental illness. Horror could be a horrific situation, being locked up for your entire life. Or horror could be being in an abusive relationship. Andy, what have you taken from tonight's episode, or how have we helped like define horror? Or do you have anything to add?
I'm not sure about much to add. I'm actually there's a lot of interesting perspectives brought up tonight on what horror is. I mean, even with cults or what have you, even with a drug addiction or any of that. And it comes down to it's these people's perceived universes. It's that world that they're in. It's like from everything from the unknown to the unknown knowns, and just there's so much unexplained in the universe that to even really cover what horror is, man, there's so many different answers that it really shined a lot of light on that tonight. And to say that there's any one answer, clearly there isn't.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I actually, like, while you were talking, I wanted to, like, bring up, like, 5 other different types of horror that we could talk about. And I think Trevor's going to have to edit because I think yours should be the final thought. Do you have time, Andy, for 2 more things that I want to bring up?
Oh, I have all the time in the world. I got nothing going on.
All right. There are 2 other types of horror. One is, like, kind of the scientific unknown. So you have things from aliens. Are they good? Are they evil? Are they just studying us? You have, again, I'm just relating it to media things that people might know. The Last of Us. Could a fungus really get so powerful that it takes over our bodies and our...
Well, fungus already take over the minds of ants and has them climb to, like, the top of a tree where, like, another little, like, fungi grows out of its head and murders the ant and infects others' ants. So fungus can affect your mind. If you think about it, if you take mushrooms, that's a fungus. That fungus is affecting your mind. That's scary. That fungus that just grows wild can absolutely fuck with you. The Salem witch trials attributed to fungus. Vampires attributed a lot in part to fungus. People hallucinating because they ate stale bread. Fungus is actually really fucking scary. It's fun. It's fun as hell, but it's also really scary.
On the note of like different horror genres, even a political horror like Max Brooks wrote with World War Z.
Okay, yes. Or even American Horror Story, Cult. That was absolutely political horror.
Oh, and you know, even though it's loosely based on the book, you know, and it was a kind of a political statement. I know you guys might not be as into it as I am, but Handmaid's Tale. No, stop looking at it. But like,
sorry, I don't like Elizabeth Moss. I find her face annoying.
Trevor,
I'm sorry.
It's the same with Olivia Munn. Don't worry.
All right, guys. Women's faces aren't annoying.
Her face looks like she is continuously trying to hold in a fart because she thinks it might be a shit.
All right, Trevor.
That's what she looks like to me, and she's annoying. And I don't like the cult she belongs to.
Okay, that's fine, but that has nothing to do with her face. Anyway.
The face is just a bonus extra that I like to talk about.
No.
Like Sarah Jessica Parker in her long horse face.
Guys.
Oh my God, you guys love Sarah.
No, but here's the thing, Trevor.
Wow.
Trevor,
I feel like I just been stabbed in the back. A2, Brute? A2?
No,
I mean, a horse is a horse, of course, but come on, we don't have to bring this in.
Yeah, but Trevor, you make yourself sound like so...
Are you a Samantha?
No, Trevor, you make yourself sound so less smart if your only attack on these people is you don't like their face.
So Elizabeth Moss knows what's happening in that damaging cult, and just like Tom Cruise, she is doing not a goddamn thing about it.
We're getting off topic here, but yes, there is political horror, which I totally agree with.
Like that Gwendolyn, like that chick from Nexium, from Smallville. Like, can you be a fan of? Can you be a fan of her now? What's the difference? What's the difference? Okay. Just one church is recognized by the government. That's the only difference. They're both damaging.
Well, I actually was trying to list these off rather quickly.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, like, but
I went off on a tangent. Sorry.
No, you're gonna have a lot of editing to make this seem coherent.
I think we're good, actually.
All right. For example, for me, the idea depends on like how you think of aliens. If you think of like them as like extraterrestrial beings that are like much more intelligent than we are and they're studying us and they're trying to like, figure out a way to like overtake us. Yeah, that scares me.
Is it about what we think about them, or should we be concerned with what they think about us?
Yeah.
Like any kind of lower life form, dude, what have we as humans done to these lower life forms? We've enslaved them. We put them to work. We've kept them as pets. We've eaten them. What's the difference? Anybody capable of traveling to this planet is just going to eat the fuck out of us.
There's long records of humans being shitty to each other, and there are probably even longer records that are just lost to history of humans being shitty to each other.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, and then the last one that I want to bring up.
We're shitty to elephants, man. Like what is the difference between an alien and us versus an elephant? That's all it is. We eat elephants, we eat cows. Aliens are going to find a planet full of these upright walking cow-like things, and that's going to be us.
When have you eaten an elephant, Trevor?
I mean, I once rode one, and like I've seen them in circus, and that's what they're going to do to us. They're going to put like fucking bridles on us. They're going to ride us, because the aliens are going to be like, in my mind, like 2 feet tall. So we're going to be like the aliens' horses. Some of us.
On the note of World War Z and Max Brooks, you just reminded me of talking about animals there, of a good horror book I did read about a year or so ago from Max Brooks called De-Evolution, and it's about this town in Greenwood, Washington that gets cut off from Mount Rainier exploding, which I can see from my back window, and Sasquatch coming and killing all these people in town. And the reason why we don't see Sasquatch is because we've scared them so far into the woods.
Would you want to meet a Sasquatch?
Wait, hold on. I like wish I had my phone.
I don't think I do.
I wish I had my phone in front of me. There is like an island. You're in Seattle, right?
I am. Yeah, close.
Okay, so I believe it's off of Washington, or maybe it's, I forget, but it's like the U.S. like totally abandoned this island off of the Pacific coast up like near the Washington area, or maybe like I forget. I really wish I had my phone right now. And it's abandoned. It was like the last guy to leave the island was the postmaster, and the only reason he stayed was because I actually forget why he had to stay the longest. But it was a colony, and they all like have these like horrific tales of these huge like Sasquatch kind of animals attacking the like fishermen and the hunters and all of that. Do you know what I'm talking? Have you ever heard about this island? To this day.
Not, and if you send me a link to that, I promise you I'm going to go investigate that.
I'm going to look it up because I was reading it, like it's so crazy. And there have been campers that have gone, like, because like people who are like, I need to see like what this place is, and they like come back with these tales, and they're like, they are not kidding. They're like, we don't know if they're just like really big bears or something, but it's nothing like they've ever seen it. They like walk on all fours. They look like huge Sasquatches. And there was this thing where people were saying the Sasquatch has been in so many like folk tales. You have to wonder where it came from. Was it just to like scare people, or is it
gotta be some truth?
Right? Like, you don't just like randomly come up with this. I mean, I guess you could randomly come up with these things, but like for having it
from all the corners of the earth, I don't think you can come up with them like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a question.
Everyone has their own legend.
Yeah. Okay, what?
Yeti, Sasquatch, you know.
Yeah. The other thing that these are the last two that I have. I think I said that for the last two.
Yeah. We're like 3 into it. You're like, yeah, last 2 again. All right, but you know what, Liz? Talk away.
All right.
That episode
All
of
right.
Sesame Street, you're good.
All right.
Welcome to an extended version of this show.
It was two more ago.
All right. 2 things. The disappearance, the random unexplained disappearances. And I know this has been brought up.
Oh, no.
That one.
That's the one, yeah. Or like anybody who was abducted.
Or like kids that like disappear and they're found like days later, like totally like 90 miles away from where they should be. And they...
Oh, that girl Madeline. There's somebody claiming that they're that Madeline girl that disappeared from like 15, 16 years ago.
Has there been an update on that? Because I know that the parents said, you know what, we'll do the DNA test to try to prove it.
I don't know, because I'm so scared that if it isn't, then that person is so fucked up for bracing that sort of hope. Or maybe she doesn't know. But if she does know and she's just claiming for attention, like, you're a shitty person, you're a shit fucking person, I really hope there's some truth to this, just for that family to get closure.
And I just think it's heartbreaking, though, that they're like, I don't know if they're just being nice people, and they're like, look, if she really believes she might be, we'll do the DNA test, like, we'll do anything. But how heartbreaking does that have to be like, even if they don't believe it and they don't think that she's the one, them to be like, look, we're going to like help this girl out. But you got to think that they have the fact that they've like still been looking for her all this time. Like they probably are like, there's got to be maybe a sliver of possibility. That's got to be heartbreaking.
You don't give up hope. I think as a parent, you just never give up hope. That if there's a 0.001% chance that they're still alive, you're going to absolutely hold on to that.
Yeah.
It's part of being human.
Why would somebody fake that, though? Why would somebody say, I'm this person?
Well, I mean,
in the age of social media.
It's like the lowest thing you could possibly do.
No, there's been cases where people who were in bad, like, family situations, they saw that they had, like, similarities to the missing kids, and they were like, I'll just pretend to, and this was before DNS.
Go to a fucking fire station.
They're usually older than that, but, like, you know... Anyway, no, so disappearances range from a lot of things, like randomly disappearing or like unexplained disappearances. I don't know. That to me is horror. Like to see your kid in the store with you one moment, you know, you turn your head for a minute and then you don't see them again for the rest of your life, you know?
Exactly. And the thing that fucks with you is somebody out there knows something. Somebody knows something, and they're not going to say it. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, everybody in the world wants this to be solved. Like, and you're the one person with that information, like, oh, her body's buried there. Her body, you know.
And then the last type of
closure.
Yeah. And then the last type of horror that I'll mention is and this is like I thought I'm like, you can't tell, but I'm looking at Trevor right now. It's like the spouses that think that there's no other way out but to kill the other spouse, either because they need like the life insurance or they found someone else and it's less messy to just kill.
Well, that's just called being married. That's just called being married, bro.
Well, no,
Liz,
Trevor and I.
Do you have life insurance?
Trevor and I aren't married, but like you read these.
You just crossed your mind once, and that isn't so horrific. No, that's all right.
No, but like.
And now we never will be.
But you know, like you read these stories about like, you know, Lacey Peterson, that guy who, you know, because they don't, I don't know, they think their mistresses are never going to find out that they were like married. One was married with a pregnant woman. One was married with 2 kids. Like, how do you think that's the best solution? Like, you know what's easier than getting a divorce? Murder. Like, you know?
I mean, yeah. And it seems like there's a lot easier ways out than murder. I don't know. Like, it seems like going to jail for the rest of your life and, you know, for being known as murdering your wife seems a lot more difficult than just losing half your shit. You'll get more shit, bro. It's all right.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's where horror movies come into play. When my significant other just really pisses me off, or somebody in public just really fucking annoys me, or the barista gets my order wrong, or some fucking teenager cuts me off in line. I want to go home and watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and watch Leatherface just murder the shit out of these kind of people so that one day I don't.
Okay.
It's very cathartic.
Same for violent video games, too. I mean... But that's a topic for another time.
That is a topic for another time because you got all these people being like, kids are losing like their sense of reality because they're like, well, I played like 9 hours of like, I don't know, for me, like James Bond seemed like a weird kind of like, not weird, but like I remember playing that for a long time and being like, yeah, I'm just going to like, choose what gun I want to shoot someone.
I played Red Dead Revolver for like 80 hours straight when it first came out. You know what? I still don't want to be a cowboy. So that the argument of violent video games creates violence, I just don't think it's right or true.
I play first-person shooters in VR. I have no interest in pointing a real gun at a person.
I will say, though, that like playing these kind of video games, when I actually did get the chance to go to a shooting range, based on the knowledge I had from the games, dude, I'm a good shot. So
I remember going to Boy Scouts and like hitting the bullseye. I'm like, oh my god, video games in real life aren't that different.
Do you want to give... you already started with yours, but do you want to give like your final thought?
I have lost my train of thought. But I think for me, I love the fact that we cannot put an actual definition on what horror is without opening up a dictionary. Actually, can you look up on your phone, Liz, what the definition of horror is?
Well, this is Webster's, but I don't think this is totally accurate. It's defining the noun. So the noun of horror, 1, an intense feeling of fear, shock, or disgust. This is not a good. Hold on.
L. Ron Hubbard would be turning over in his grave right now. Can you read the whole definition?
All right. This is according to Merriam-Webster. Horror is a noun. 1, a painful and intense fear, dread, or dismay. B, intense aversion or repugnance. 2, the quality of inspiring horror. How is that the definition?
The quality of inspiring horror. You know what? Fair enough. Whatever.
That's an adjective if it's a quality.
Somebody smarter than I will figure it out later.
Repulsive, horrible, or dismal quality. Or these are synonyms. This is not... Okay, hold on. This one, it might be better. This is dictionary.com.
Okay.
Noun. 1, an overwhelming and painful feeling caused by something frightfully shocking, terrifying, or revolting. A shuddering fear. 2, anything that causes such a feeling. Killing, looting, and other horrors of war. All right, this is not a great website. 3.
So, all right, so I guess that the general consensus is nobody really knows what horror is. Even Google has let us down. And this is going to bring us to our end of this episode. I have been Trevor W. Heasley. With me has been
Lizzie O'Neil.
And also with us tonight as a guest has been
Andy Cash.
Thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Absolutely. I hope you guys have me on again at some point. I really enjoyed being here.
You were listening to 1 Second Till Midnight podcast. The hosts for this evening were Trevor W. Heasley and Lizzie O'Neil. Tonight's guest was Andy Cash. Please feel free to email us at 1 Second Till Midnight podcast @gmail.com. And remember, guys, don't get eaten.